He's like, come on back here to the back office for a minute. I'm like, oh, heck no. Oh, no. You can have this guy's wallet, but I am not going behind closed doors with you.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to episode 453 of the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me, as always, is Donna Grindle of Carton. What's up, Donna?
What's up, David? I got to come up with some, strange thing I'm going to say back to you someday, periodically. I'm going to have to start making notes every now and then, think of something and mess with you.
Yeah, do that. Throw something at
me. Yeah. It just occurred to me that I just sit here waiting, not knowing what's going to happen.
You know what? I'm doing the same thing. Sometimes I never know what I'm going to say.
I open my mouth to know what I'm going to say.
Yep. Well, the older you get, sometimes the less that distance between your brain and your tongue is.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Could be the distance between caring and not caring.
It could be that for sure. I always just say when I was younger that, it's funny how elderly people can get away with saying anything. So it's always a benefit. No matter what stage of life you're in, there are always benefits. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. And I do want to say, though, next week, guess what? As we're recording this,
yeah,
I'll be live and in person with you next week.
I know. This comes out on the last day of the boot camp. And I'm already tired, David, from getting ready for it. And we haven't even done all the stuff yet. So
I haven't even started. I know.
Who knows? There's so many variables this year. It's going to be a real roll of the dice to see how things go.
Yeah. It's it might be one of those boot camps where the content changes on the fly.
Well, and the plan may need to change.
That's typical.
Much more so, it may need to change on the fly.
Yep. So good. I'm excited. I'm excited to come down, and because I have to go down to Georgia.
Devil went down to Georgia. Does that sound familiar?
That does sound familiar. So I'm going down there and doing this boot camp. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So I know you said some folks are already asking about when the next one is. I don't think we have an answer to that yet.
No.
Let's endure this one, and then we'll come up with the next one.
Yeah, we're working on some alternatives where we can scale higher, but still do things, but not do it the same. It's the same but different alternatives. Yeah. So I'm not expecting another live one until next year. That's all I'm going to say. But there's other hybrid live we may do.
Hybrid.
We'll go with that.
All right. Very good. So do want to say, if you get value from this podcast, you can do your part and share it out. Help everybody out. Raise the industry.
Subscribe.
Yep. Subscribe, click all these little things that pop up.
Yeah.
No, don't click. Don't click.
Except on the things we give you, but make sure it's us. Oh, that's still getting more stressful.
Yeah, it is. All righty. So today we're going to be talking about some things we can learn from the MGM hack.
Yes.
And get a little bit of behind the scenes insight. But before we dive into that, we do want to do the HIPAA Say What segment.
Yeah. Say what?
Say what? So guess what? Another OCR right of access initiative has been announced.
Yeah,
and the 47th enforcement action to go along with it.
Yeah. So they just announced the Right of Access Enforcement Initiative on security risk analysis.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that is a much more, it's a lot easier for them to find those. I'm going to go with that. I'm just going to leave it at kind of that, because those show up in all the data breaches, you go through those and see if they're going to pop up. They're going to pop up. That's where you're going to find them.
Mm-hmm.
But these come from complaints.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that they say that the complaints are still coming in, and I know we've been talking about this since the beginning of 2019. So hopefully it's getting better, though. But based on the, read between the lines stuff that's in this one, you got to wonder where some people see the lack of importance of this. And I'm not talking about the enforcement initiative. I'm talking about the patient's right to their records. Really? That's the thing that I'm quite curious about, is why so many people feel that this is not a big deal. It's not something I need to worry about. But who knows? I stay confused on some of these things when you read them. And even if I was sitting there listening to the people tell the story, I'd still be confused in many, many cases. So we'll leave it at that. But this settlement is with Phoenix Healthcare, an Oklahoma multi-facility organization in nursing care. And, the complaint comes in April 2019. So this complaint came in right around the same time they were announcing this initiative. And it was from a daughter who was trying to get a copy of her mother's medical records. And OCR attempts at technical assistance and attempts to get the records by OCR. They finally sent them January 30th, 2020, after the complaint was filed April 2019. So it took 323 days. That's well beyond the 30-day deadline.
It does have a 3 in it.
Yeah. It's just, why? You got to wonder why.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's, okay, I can't do it in 30 days or whatever, but almost a year?
Well, but and OCR's calling you and telling you, hey, your patient's saying this. Why would you not? Why? So, and we're about to go through where it becomes even more of a why.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So first let's do, in the quote, that we always have to have a quote, and this one came out. Hit it, David. Do the quote thing.
All right. So OCR director says, patients need to make the best decisions possible for their health and well-being. So timely access to their medical records is imperative. Without this access, patients are at risk for incorrect treatments, inaccurate health records, and lack of understanding of their health conditions. It is unacceptable for a healthcare provider to delay or deny requests to release medical records for months. And we are calling on providers everywhere to be compliant to help empower patients.
So, it was clearly OCR checked to see, it's a personal representative. They should get the records. And, we see that. And, again, it's like OCR doesn't seem to understand either. It's unacceptable. Why? And we're calling on everybody to just please do this. But, then we go read the resolution agreement. Because again, that's where you get the skinny. You get a little flicker of something. You get what it is they want you to learn. But you get like what we really learn, the down and dirty. You usually can get enough to read between the lines. But this one, it's like a, numbered paragraph. It doesn't look the same right away. I'm like, something's different the minute it comes up on the screen. As none of this text is like immediately looking like what I'm used to seeing. And item number 2 really did get my attention because it said, by letter dated March 30th, 2021, OCR notified Phoenix of its intention to impose a civil money penalty against Phoenix in the amount of $250,000 for its failure to comply.
Wow.
Right away, I'm like, whoa. So, the complaint came in April 2019. They had all of this stuff going on. Finally get the records January 2020. And then a year later, they must have gone through the, hey, we're investigating you now because this was way too hard. And you don't know knowing the process, normally it says, we notified you were under investigation. They skip right past that because it's clear you're under investigation is kind of their thing. So they've done it by then and said, we're going to give you, and we always say when there's these, they either say, okay, we're going to close this. We think you're doing the right thing. We may come back and check, or we're going to come back and check and confirm some things in a few months or whatever. But if it goes awry, that's when they come and they go, well, we found you aren't complying with these legal 45 blah, 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 blah. And we're going to give you this. This is your civil money penalty. And then the negotiations start. But usually you don't see this approach. And one that they have said before, when we go to the administrative law judges, we don't lose. We have our ducks in a row. So that was March 30th. June 25th, item number 3. They requested a hearing before an administrative law judge to contest the proposed imposition of the civil money penalty. So if they're contesting it, so in a minute, the next one, you're going to know why they're contesting it. Because I'm like, what are they contesting? Because you can negotiate the settlement. That the amount could be negotiated. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. Wrong. Because then it's like, okay, so it goes on the docket. It goes through all the crap. And, the legal stuff, just stay away from it. It takes forever. That's one thing we've learned. And that's, I think, a big problem is the technology's zooming along and we're part of that. And legal stuff crawls. That. I think it kind of drags itself. It doesn't actually get up on all fours and crawl. It's more of a drag. But anyway, so in February 2023, so last year, the administrative law judge upheld the violation cited and directed that Phoenix pay a civil money penalty in the amount of $75,000. So they did bring it down, but they also upheld OCR's determination that Phoenix acted with, quote, willful neglect in violating the sections. Now we know. Now we know where the problem is.
Yep.
So willful neglect is what again, why? Why are you, why?
There's a lot of stuff that could have been avoided here. I mean, you got to go pay the attorney, which is, who knows how much that was.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money on this, and this is not something some cyber coverage covers.
No. It's like, literally, if you would have just gave somebody their records.
And it still makes no sense. I mean, I get the cases. There are cases where the provider's like, I'm not giving you these records because I don't trust how well you will handle what is in here, but I will give it to another provider. I will give it to, but there has to be a third party. I have to know you're going to be okay. Now we're talking patient care and making decisions. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to get into that discussion with a physician. That's not where I go. It's like, look, you tell me, is it one of these things? Blah, blah, blah. Boom. And then it needs to go down that path. And there is a path for that defined in the law that you can bring in other providers and show the other providers, here's what it is, explain what's going on. And then they can confirm your belief, the provider's belief, or say, nah, give it to them. There are ways to do that. This doesn't make sense. So, willful neglect always means that you get the highest penalties. So then, that wasn't enough. They filed an appeal.
They want to be on OCR's radar for a long time.
And they challenged the $75,000. They contested the determination of willful neglect. So if it took 300 and some odd days to get the records, you clearly were not meeting your requirements, number one. If you could substantiate a reason for these delays, it definitely wouldn't have been, willful neglect because you would have had things in place. So that doesn't make sense. That was in April 2023. So that was just like February to April, not quite even 60 days, they filed this appeal. Mm-hmm. And then August, the Departmental Appeals Board affirmed the willful neglect and the penalty amount. So at some point, it's like, now you're going to go to federal court? Did you run out of money for your lawyers?
I mean, yeah, this was a head scratcher here.
Yeah, so just have you read some of the bullets of what they agreed to? It's like they don't trust them. You go ahead, you share some of these bullets because I don't know. I don't know.
So in the official settlement agreement, Phoenix agrees to the following: no further appeals of the decisions in any court, other form or manner. So, okay, we're done. We're not fighting this anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, they didn't just go court.
Yeah, it's like we're nowhere. Like nowhere are we going to talk about this.
Yeah.
They agree to pay $35,000 as a settlement amount on October 13. So explain that one. What happened to 75?
Well, I mean, it started at 250, but again, this is a settlement. They probably would have been fine at the 35 to begin with, and we wouldn't have had to go through any of this. So they just didn't want to be classified as willful neglect, I guess. I don't know.
All right. They're going to revise their HIPAA policies and procedures to address the privacy rule requirements concerning an individual's right of access to a PHI and its obligations to enter into business associate agreements.
So ding, ding, ding. Where did that come into play?
That's what I'm like, what?
I know.
Okay. All right. I guess the manual they purchased online didn't have that. So, okay, next, they will submit revised policies and procedures to OCR for review and make any revisions requested by OCR until it receives OCR's approval. They must produce a set of HIPAA policies and procedures that OCR deems acceptable by October. Mm-hmm. Huh. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, this was all signed in September. Okay, September 2023 with these October, November deadlines that we're going to hear about. So
they're going to do all this in 30 days.
Yeah, but I want to make sure we're clear here that, this is all already, they didn't announce it until now, which then you gotta, but they've been doing that, so I don't understand any of that. But go ahead.
Right. Okay. On or before October 30th of 23, Phoenix will provide the OCR a signed attestation stating that it has implemented and distributed its workforce members its revised set of HIPAA policies and procedures that OCR has deemed acceptable, along with evidence of the training materials to be used to train the staff on these policies and procedures. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
On or before November 30th of 23, Phoenix will provide to OCR a signed attestation stating that it has trained all of its workforce members. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, they shall not contest the validity of its obligation to pay the settlement amount nor any other obligation it has agreed to under this agreement. And then lastly, if they fail to meet the obligations, OCR reserves the right to seek the payment of $75,000 civil money penalty imposed by the ALJ's decision. Wow. Okay.
Either it's somebody that, is quite litigious and they just are going to do that. I don't know what the behind the scenes story is, but again, what did this poor lady do that warrants her not getting her records for her mother? And in nursing care, it does make one suspicious. Can't help it. I have my own experiences in that arena, so you are suspicious of maybe there's something going on there. But, and maybe that's why they were fighting the willful neglect, because there's some other legal thing going on. I don't know. We haven't seen one like this at all, but that just shows you how out there some of these things can be.
Yeah.
It's not simple.
That's interesting. It's like most everybody else is like, okay, you're right. How much is it going to cost me?
Well, yeah, it goes through all the normal legal stuff and filing paperwork and proving you're doing better. And, normally that's the way we roll, but I don't get it.
Yeah. I'd love to know what their attorney's fees for all this was.
I don't even want to think about it. No.
We saved $40,000 on the civil money penalty, and it cost us $150,000 for legal defense.
I know, you got to wonder what's, there's got to be more to the story, but still, legally, you can't do what you're doing. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the lawyer's sitting there. I know I've seen plenty of times where the lawyers are like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. We're going to do it anyway? Okay, we're doing it anyway, even though I'm going to tell you we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's true. But it does make me wonder, are we setting a precedence to, fight all these things like this? Not that I'm saying they shouldn't. I mean, it's their prerogative. You can fight it even if you're wrong.
Yeah. But yeah.
We talk about how OCR isn't staffed well enough as it is, and how much did this drag on resources?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. They're just trying to make them give up. I don't know, but one of the things that we do know for sure is that the law says you should have your rights to your own records. And there's really not a lot of reasons from a healthcare perspective to make the argument that that's not a good thing in the law.
Mm-hmm.
There is a debate about, the records I keep about you, I own, you don't own. And I've heard those arguments before, and maybe that's it. That you have no rights to your records because I created them. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Let's talk about casinos.
Yeah, because let's talk about something that we, again, will not understand. But I was reading the news, as I am one to do, and came across this article in the Wall Street Journal. It's a really new one. The audacious MGM attack that brought chaos to Las Vegas. And I'm assuming that most people will remember that Caesars and MGM were hit last year, and it did wreak some havoc around Vegas because these are huge entities that own multiple resorts and casinos. So, most people will remember hearing that, whether they actually paid attention to it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Unlike Change Healthcare, where healthcare people don't even understand it. Right? Did y'all know about this? No.
Yes. And I mention it in certain circles that aren't healthcare, and everybody's like, "Well, I don't. What do you mean? What's going on?"
Yes.
Then, it's like, really, you don't know anything about this? It's like, this is big news. And, well, at least in healthcare, but I thought it was big news. Period.
Yeah, it seemed like it was. It is impacting healthcare, and I think a lot of it has to do with people just don't understand the impact it will ultimately have on lives.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but they don't understand the interconnectivity of things.
Right.
Like, because somebody's saying, I don't know when I'll be able to get your prescription in. It might be a few weeks. Okay. Well, they don't know that it's tied to all these other supply chain issues that go all the way back to Change Healthcare.
I know. I was like, I don't understand why oh, wait, that's why it's not filled.
Yeah.
I even had to do that myself. So, but this one, a lot of people, everybody knows somebody that likes to gamble, go to the casinos. And if you know some of those people, you know that pulling them away from their slot machine when they are certain it's about to hit, or when it has hit and they're waiting to cash out, is not something you just walk up and do. It's not a willy-nilly approach.
I had a friend of mine, he recently passed, but he told me one day he went up in the church and he said, I just thought I have to say this, that I went to the casino last night and I told the Lord, if he helped me hit, I would give at least 50% to the church.
Oh.
And he said, I won $10,000.
Nice.
Oh, it was hilarious the way he told the story, but
yeah. But I mean,
he did his part.
Yeah. I've just never been the gambling person, It's like once I've made my money that I put in and doubled it, I'm done.
I'm the $20 guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna put $20 in here, and once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, me too. Well, that and back in the day when I would go to these conferences and I learned that I could put my whatever in those little poker machines that's on the bar. They're built into the bar, and you could sit there and drink free back then, as long as you were playing. So
play slow.
Yeah, you're playing penny poker, and I'm, you can mess around with that for a while, and get, I'm always, for $5, I'm going to be able to get my beer down to $1 a beer, So it's how you look at things, and now that I'm interested in gambling, but there's a lot of people, this is their gig and they love it. But I just, Krista can walk by the machine and just wander by one, throw in $1 and get 20 out. I don't know. It happened multiple times when we were, but I was like, what? I was like, here's my $1. Nothing. Take one of her own dollars, get. So I don't get it. But, over the years, those things have become very technology intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
And the security in these casinos is crazy because there's so much money moving around, and the cameras and the alerts, and they got all of the people watching, all that stuff going on. So you think that their cybersecurity would be equally as aggressive.
Yeah. Last time I went to Vegas, I found a guy's wallet sitting on the machine. I guess he got up and walked off. So I take the wallet and I walk over to a guy that I think works there. And I'm like, do you work here? And he's like, maybe, what do you want? And I'm like, what kind of answer is that? I'm like, never mind. I'll ask somebody else.
Mm.
And I walked over to somebody else and I'm like, hey, do you work here? And he's like, yeah, what's up? It's like, I found a guy's wallet and I need to return it to somebody. Who can I return it to? And he says, and he's got like a little earpiece in and all this stuff. So, I mean, he looked like somebody who worked there. He's like, come on back here to the back office for a minute. I'm like, oh, heck no. Oh, no. You can have this guy's wallet, but I am not going behind closed doors with you.
I'm trying to do the right thing here. Here you go. I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but, man, we're not going to do that. I watched too many videos.
So anyway, let's get back to the topic at hand is, they had this major cyber attack last September at MGM. And initially, our Alpha V Black Cat folks that have taken credit for Change Healthcare, they were initially that. And then what's funny is later they reached back out and said, our bad, not us. Not us.
Okay.
But and we'll get to in a minute, this group called Star Fraud is apparently involved, but it's a little different scenario. But I love how they tell the story. I mean, it all starts and everybody's like, how did they get in? And we're always like, there's always a human.
Yeah.
There's always a human. It's the people. Always.
And it tends not to be very sophisticated either.
No. And this group actually tries, and later in the article you find out that they would find ways that they would keep trying scripts with the different scripts that they would go through. And when they found one that worked, they would publish it in these forums so other people could try it. But it's like a Friday night, because what do we always tell you? Weekends.
Yeah. It's always weekends or holidays.
And this was in September, so, you're looking around Labor Day time frame. School's going back, people are going, all this stuff's going on. So Friday night in September, tech support gets a call, and you know how often these calls come through. I forgot my password. I need my password reset. Well, like anybody else, they've got protocols to confirm the employee. You go through and you answer certain personal questions. And they followed the protocol. They were able to get there, check. Okay, reset the password. Within minutes, the actual employee gets an alert their password has been changed, ready to reset it, and the employee calls back tech support and says, I didn't do this.
Ruh-roh.
Is this a scam? And tech support's like, yeah, but it ain't on you. It's on us. And
oh, man. That's a bad feeling right there.
I know, but I mean, they followed protocol, and we keep bringing these up. They're following the rules, but the rules aren't good enough anymore. They were good enough before. And this is more of the rules have to keep changing because the tactics keep changing.
Yeah. But you can't change your rules if you're not auditing your rules.
True that. To wonder how they're working. So apparently in this case, they knew at that moment it was too late. They were already in. Within minutes, they're in. And it doesn't take long. If you got the skills that you would even be doing this in the first place, it doesn't take long. So at that moment, they knew, boom, had happened.
Yeah. Yep.
They were no longer left of boom. We are now officially right of boom. And, they later figure out that the way that the folks did it is they were going through and doing data mining on employees. And they kept doing they kept calling and that you couldn't pass the protocols. Well, first of all, if the protocols are always the same, or even they vary, you just keep calling and you're going to eventually get them. What is it? The list of questions. Then you can take all of the data breaches, which everybody says, my data's out there, I don't care. They take all the data breaches And now with AI, and this is probably one of the first, let's dump all this data in, and now you go find me everything about this person because I've identified them as an employee. And it probably helped them find the employees first.
Mm-hmm.
So they get all the data, and that lets them pass the security protocols to get the password reset done. They used data breaches published by the others. Ironically, there were probably employees included in their data breach they had years before. I think 2017 or 18 it said that they had, or maybe 2019. MGM had a data breach with millions of people's data included. So they probably used that against them too.
Yeah.
Because they did say that it did get published. So that's how they got it. But then at first the journal story is telling about there's some gala for the CEO's wife getting an award, and he and the in-house counsel, one of the attorneys or something, they're both there, and everybody's emailing back and forth trying to figure out what's going on. And this is happening during this gala where you're supposed to be, and they're like sweating. They're starting to see, and looking across the room with the I'm freaking, are you freaking eyes? And back in the day when you could first sit in a meeting and text one another, and that you saw that happening, and you could see those conversations visual. These are happening now. And then all of a sudden they realize they're probably in our email. Maybe we should stop emailing each other. But according to the article, they went through several iterations, and by midnight they knew this was a major crisis. So you know how stressful and horrible that time would be. And that's just for them. Imagine what the tech people are going through. No, we don't want to think about it. La, 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 la. And this is when it starts hitting the news, though, because Sunday they seem to still have a few things under control. But now these attackers were moving system to system, creating havoc. When they shut down the email, right, the thing that they missed, that at about 2 a.m., the hackers sent an email to the CEO who was not looking at email, asking for the $30 million ransom for them to stop. So for 12 hours it took for somebody to notice the ransom. That kind of only made the hackers more mischievous, we'll call it. And it made them angry. Yeah. They're like, you're going to ignore us?
I know. I hate when I don't get a response to an email quickly.
So then they finally find it and start dealing with the negotiations, if you will. But in the meantime, the reservation systems are down. I remember seeing that first. I think Caesars and the MGM attack, the first things you see is you can't make a reservation for either of those, any of their resorts, and there's a ton of them. So that then is like the first indication, because people are making reservations for places in Vegas all the time. It's constant, with all the conferences and all these other things, and particularly that time of year, you're in conference season. So it was probably chaotic there initially, and they realized it was going to spread quickly. And when they're talking about the fact that most people check in now with an app, right? You don't have to go and go through. I go and, you have to show an ID and all of this just to get approval for some different key or something like that. But I'm already checked in, by the time I'm there. So that's what most people do. Suddenly everybody's waiting in line. People do so well when they're waiting in line, don't they, David?
Yeah, everybody's so patient and nice.
And they had the casino visitors they were interviewing, and they're like, we started recognizing on Monday when we couldn't get, a payout on our slot and we hit the button to get help, and you just sit there and wait, and they're not seeing any help come. And then they see security people and they're like, what's going on? And they're like, we don't know. You could tell they didn't have a clue. And then all of a sudden they started seeing what they said, the machine started flashing shut down. So that meant, Monday we're bringing the whole thing down. We're bringing it all down. Because either the hackers were doing it or, the tech teams that are trying to block it are doing it. So can you imagine what being in the casino when that starts happening?
Mm-mm.
I mean, just the change in the noise. You don't hear ding, 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 ding anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it would be like, what's happening? Everybody's going to notice that. It's not just like this one computer's not working and a line's building. The sound within the environment changes because of this.
Yeah. People are like, you can hear people in the background. What do you mean I can't get my money?
I don't know what's going on. And lines are building up at every place that you need to go. There's lines building up. And, it was crazy. They even said that they had to have employees. Now, you've been to some of those places where those high rises, I mean, those things are massive. And, you got this elevator bank to go to this level floors and this elevator bank to go to these level floors, just so that you're not, I'm sorry, I have to go to the 45th floor, 9, 8, you're stopping all along the way. But they had employees with walkie-talkies running the elevators. That's not a good day. So that's what we tell, the hospitals talk about, that they have people running with the lab reports. They have runners with the lab reports. They have walkie-talkies throughout the building. And if you think that you don't need to think about a walkie-talkie, think again.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like they had an incident response plan.
Yeah, I think they were also doing some things on the fly because it just kept getting worse. I doubt their incident response plan included that by Thursday they had executives walking around the casino with fanny packs full of cash, which means they also had 2 armed security guard people with them, at least, handing out, cashing everybody out on the slot machines.
So it started Friday. So we're talking 6 days, right?
Yep. They really started getting it back up and running. They said, like, as far as the public facing things, within 6 days. But behind the scenes, it took months to get things really back under control.
Right.
On the back end. Because they were rebuilding servers, rebuilding devices, just like everybody else. They're having to rebuild things to make sure that they are gone, that the bad guys are gone. And I know that their incident response plan didn't say lines are going to be so long to check in at the hotel. You need to have cocktail service in the lines.
Let's take a bunch of people who are impatient and angry and let's give them alcohol.
Well, it's supposed to take the edge off. And look, by the time they got through the line, they weren't going to get more than one drink anyway.
They should have just been handing out cannabis if they was going to.
I know, right? Because they can do that there too. But here, have a gummy or a martini. Which would you prefer? Whatever's going to calm you down. But they got it up and running. Around that same time, the news came out because the hackers were asking for $30 million. And MGM's like, we're not doing it. We're not paying. But they have these things. These entities are so wealthy and have so many resources that are already in play for their security. They were able to just throw everything at it and get it back up and running to some extent. But they said that the Q4 2023, they took a $10 million expense write-off. They expect insurance will cover it eventually, but a one-time expense write-off of $10 million just for the technical, the consulting, all of that stuff of the cost of managing the attack. And then Caesars, it comes out, had actually paid around $15 million to get theirs back online. They actually paid in the summer. But the big thing that is different here is the things that we're finding out about this particular gang. And it was quite concerning as I read it, which prompted me to say, let's talk about this. They this star fraud group, they claim, they have been talking, they claim that they were able to get through with data mining this time. But we've talked about before threatening employees or paying employees to get their credentials. And they talked about it, even sent supposedly screenshots of text messages where they were threatening an employee of another. That's not how they got in at MGM, but supposedly they got in at other companies through threats or paying the employees. If we don't get your login in the next 20 minutes, we're sending a shooter to your house. Your wife's going to get shot if you don't.
Well, I mean, for some people, that wouldn't be much of a threat.
Well, you think about it, though. It's somebody, we're talking sniper, number one, and I know where you live.
Yeah, but you have to assume they have, first of all, are they married? Second of all, are they happily married?
Oh, now there's that. But, they know their stuff. They already did the recon,
Yeah.
So they know who they're targeting. They know their address. They know everything about them before they start. That's the scary thing. Because now,
You have to wonder, like, is it a bluff? Is it not a bluff? Are you willing to take that risk? Talking about a risk assessment.
I know, right? And then in other cases, they just offer them $20,000. I mean,
yeah.
How many employees going to, take the high road in your organization if they're offered $20,000? Will $10,000 work? Will 5?
Every one of them.
That's right.
I can hear them. I'll be there in 20 minutes with a shooter.
Yeah.
We're in South Carolina, buddy.
Go ahead. Yeah, but the other thing is it would freak our people out so much after the stuff we've done to them with our social engineering text.
Yeah, it would.
They're like, is this you?
You know what they would do? No, you know what they would do? They'd be like, oh, I'm not falling for this crap. You tell Donna I see it.
Yeah, hang up. I'm not doing it. But for the most part, our folks are used to these and expect them to be scams. Expect them to be a problem. But the thing is these aren't normal, like what we've gotten used to hacker gangs being. What we've gotten used to is they're foreign criminals from other countries, and, their English isn't very good, and they're just wanting their money and getting out. Right? That's it. They want their money and they're moving on. And it's different with these, that they are seeing these gangs that are coming up now who, I think the quote they used or the phrase they used was that they had been groomed in communities where cybercrime is acceptable and expected. It's one of the things that always drove me crazy, even like back in the day when they were first starting to play the, what was the one they really got into at the beginning? Sims. Remember, they got into the Sims game. Everybody was playing. And everybody wants to know your cheat codes. Right there's your cybercrime. We're starting at that. And then if you become more and more involved in these forums and these groups and there's a great deal of concern. Like in the UK, they arrested one of the people that was leading one of these groups, and they found that he's really great at leading the group and very good with the technology, but his autism prevents him from truly understanding the impacts of what he's involved with. And they are utilizing those people and grooming those people. Anybody that they can get to that they just groom them, and then they're out there forming their own gangs now. And that's apparently what this gang is. It's a bunch of kids who, to them, this is fun, and they need to one-up each other, and they need to get the money. So I got all of this money, and I did all of this. I was able to pull all of these cyber pranks, if you will. I captured this, and I captured that, and then I messed up this, and they were doing, immature things like renaming files to anything that was provocative names, those kind of things. So they're not mature in the first place. And then on top of that, they're from the United States, Canada, and the UK. These are not your foreigners, your foreigners.
your Russians and your Chinese.
Yeah, and Romania and whatever that is not them. They're your neighbors. They're your, it reminded me right away when I was reading it, the number of times we use an example that you got an IT guy, it's your neighbor's grandson who's good with computers and video games.
He's also a hacker at night.
Yeah. They're the ones that are doing this now. And, their tactics are changing because they're able to understand English. They're able to have these connections, and they're wealthy to begin with, many of them. These are kids that, there's plenty of money, and they just, so they're investing in this because, well, it's just a cool thing that, it's like the crypto bros. It's like the new crypto bros.
Yeah. It's just the ability to do something that you're not supposed to do. It's the thrill of it, right?
Yeah. And the amount of money that they can get for it. But it just proves that we talk about the tactics continue to evolve. And we're like, you don't even know. Sometimes they're getting better and better at tricking you. And they're using AI to help them trick you and get around all the indicators we would expect. They can make it sound like and look like we talked about in Hong Kong, where it's video. You're following the protocols that are in place, where there's a video of two different people telling you in a video meeting to transfer $4 million. You're following extensive protocols that used to work. Not so much anymore.
Yeah. No. Question everything.
Yeah.
Question everything.
Because, if it's fun, some people do it literally because it's fun. And then they get the money because that comes with it.
Yeah.
But they do want the money. Don't they're after the money because that's part of it.
And one of the things I started telling my clients is you need to have a keyword that you're going to use during things that involve money. Mm-hmm. Call it a password if you want to or whatever, but and every so often that needs to change. But if you have two people reaching out to one another and saying, I just want to verify you're wanting me to transfer this money, then there needs to be some phrase or word or something that they recognize that's going to be harder for somebody to know what that is. So if they are impersonating you using AI, then they're hopefully not going to know what this phrase or word is that you've got in place.
Unless you send it out as an email to all your clients, your team.
That.
Yeah, it's in your email.
There is that.
We emailed it to everybody. Everybody knows what it is.
Yeah, don't do that. That's about as bad as having a risk assessment done. IT comes in and they do a vulnerability assessment and then they email you the report.
I know. I'm like,
all right, thank you. Thank you for putting all my vulnerabilities out there for everybody to see. If anybody ever gets into my email account, because they're not going to delete it out of their email account because everybody uses their email account for storage nowadays.
Yeah, it's like their old file, the big file cabinets. That's what email is now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm guilty of it. I do the same thing. I went back the other day and looked for an email from 2017 and I found it and I was like, yay. Good thing I use it for storage. But that was not the initial intention of email. That's kind of like imagine if you used your mailbox at the street, like you read your mail and just throw it back in the mailbox.
I'll keep it there.
Yeah.
Most of it's junk mail. I'll just throw it back in. But those are the ones you delete though, the junk mails. You delete the junk mail, get rid of those. But I have to really start to focus on teaching people that it's not just their tactics are changing because of the technology. It's changing because it's the different people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not looking at those who are building a business, which is, you know, the Alpha V and the Black Cat. They're treating it like a business.
Right.
These folks aren't treating it like a business. It's a game where they can make money.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's you know, if they're in it for the game of it, you know, you can't make assumptions about any motives or methods or how far they'll go.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because it's just not there. All bets are off.
Yep.
Bump. That's a great way to bring it back around. All bets are off.
There you go. There's you a good title for the show. All right, folks, that's our show for today. Thanks for listening. Be sure to do your part and share this thing out. We appreciate it. Leave us a review. Appreciate that as well. So for Donna and myself, remember that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right. Protect your patients day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.